Hi, following on from yesterday's topic, I said something interesting. I said that the problem,
Did you?
yeah, I think so anyway, the problem with the world isn't necessarily specific problems such as the pollution of the environment or the overfishing of the seas, the cutting down of the forests. To solve the problem, you almost have to think, what are all the problems stemming from? And the problems with our world regarding our negative effects on it all draw back to the problems
Well, do you want to mention your bath analogy?
with humanity. So the bath analogy is, if a bath is leaking water through holes in the bath, instead of getting your sticky tape and going through all the holes and fixing problems like the environment and war and pollution, instead of just fixing these problems, we need to turn the water off of the bath so it stops leaking because there's no running water. So the source of the problem isn't the symptoms of what we, cause. The source is us. And I believe that the best way to solve all these problems is to focus on the individual and do our part ourselves.
Well, you've just summed up why we started this in the first place, Peter, which is that it's not about, I think I said at the start, climate change is not the issue, even though I thought it used to be the big issue. Actually, the big issue behind it, we need to look at a cure, which is how we turn away ourselves from our mess to a better scenario, because we are the root of the problem. So it sums up why we're doing it, Peter, really, what you're saying there, although it doesn't stop us from taking a few more things into account in terms of how we might help ourselves to improve things. We might get into disagreements about some of those, but that's all part of the fun. But at the end of the day, it's not a fun issue. It's actually quite a serious issue, which is, for want of a better word, sin.
Yeah.
It's the I in SIN that is the problem, and you and I need to somehow find a way to turn away from what we're doing wrong. And we do have to stop polluting seas and having wars and poisoning skies and all the rest of it, but it's not the science there we need to sort out, although we need the scientists to help us. It's what we do that is the problem. So that's our little add-on to last time. A brief one today, just to throw this in. Peter might like this because he's quite philosophical. I just want to say that the actual basic Christian viewpoint on this is that God created out of nothing. Now, I know that in arguments and discussions with friends who don't believe, they would sometimes say something different, but I want to suggest that that's the key point. He created. He didn't have to, but he did because he wanted to. He did it in a sense for Jesus, for himself, but also for us, because he created us in that. And there's something in that God is personal, Peter, that he must be of a different order of reality. It's almost difficult to describe that if he created from nothing, he's not part of what we are, which is tangible. It's something outside of that reality that we can't quite get our head around. And yet at the same time, he's personal. He's created a relationship. That's what Christians believe. But it's somehow more than human in order to do that. And creation can't tell us all that we need to know about God. But this world we live on can tell us quite a lot. He speaks through it. But we do know we need something of his word, which comes through the biblical narrative that we keep looking at. And he can speak in all sorts of ways. And there's a lovely example of this. This is where I love art these days, and I didn't before, even though I'm not a very good artist. I think God is he's a great artist. And the world is a bit like a canvas. And so he's painting a picture. And it's not the whole. It's a bit like if you paint a picture of our garden, it's not the garden. It just gives me an idea of the garden. And I think it's a bit of a similar picture. And that's why, to quote something we quoted quite a few days ago now, was Romans 1:20. It says, let me just get that. it said, almost there, it said, for since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that men are without excuse. So he's kind of, we can see beauty and his power in all of creation, but we can't get the whole picture. So, any thoughts on all that? You might not have. You don't have to say.
No, it's all right. I agree with everything.
Oh, that is one of the first times that's ever happened. I'll add something in case. I'm not quite sure how long we're talking for here, but I want to say there's a real interdependence, and this is where maybe we've got more discussion to have, between plants, animals and humans. That there's something about we're dependent on one another because God created all of those things, and how we humans tend to put all our focus on humans. And if we muck up the interdependence of plants, animals and humans, that will affect the humans, but it will also affect the plants and the animals. And since God created all of them, we've got to be careful that we don't get that whole relational mix between them sorted out. And I would like to argue that we're out of kilter, that we haven't got the relationship between humans, plants and animals right. And because of that, we're in a mess. Anything to add, or we'll sign off?
I still like eating burgers.
Peter still likes eating burgers. It's probably then another follow-on discussion. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with eating burgers, but we can have a chat about that. Next time, maybe burgers.
Thank you.
Cheers, folks.